In order to repay the kindness of the past, Chen Yi violated his master and withdrew his 7-paper engagement. Offended senior sister again, causing the 7 senior sisters to go their separate ways. Even so, he resolutely entered the Lin family. But 3 years later, his wife held a divorce agreement and forced him to leave the house clean. "You are useless." Chen Yi smiled. What a big joke. Chapter 1. Clean out of household. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Yi, you have been with the Lin family for 3 years, and apart from doing laundry and cooking at home, you are useless. Do you dare to steal from me now? In the hotel room, Lin Xueran looked at Chen Yi naked with a sharp expression. On the bed, next to her was a woman with her head buried and her body wrapped in a blanket, sobbing and whimpering. It was her secretary. I didn't. Chen Yi eased his headache, frowned, and recalled yesterday's events. Last night, for the first time, Lin Xueran took him to the celebration banquet of the Lin Group, where he was drunk by a group of people. Wake up, it's the opening scene. It's not up to you to decide whether to do it or not. Lin Xueran slapped the divorce agreement on his face, and said with no expression. Sign it. Get out of the house and get out of the Lin family. At this moment, Chen Yi completely understood. Originally, this divorce agreement was already prepared. Looking back, he looked at the female secretary who had stopped crying and then at Lin Xueran. There was no sadness, only self-deprecation. In the past 3 years, I have also spent my heart and lungs on you. In the end, will you still come to this point? Shut up, you betrayed me before, are you still justified? Lin Xueran's eyes were flustered by his gaze, and he could only use sharp words to conceal it. After speaking, she was full of contempt. Besides, what Lin Xueran needed was never a man like you. Who doesn't know how to do laundry and cooking? Spending money to hire a nanny is much better than you do. Ha! Chen Yi smiled sarcastically. 3 years ago, the Lin family was just an ordinary third-tier family. And since he entered the Lin family, he has been secretly providing help, so the Lin family can only make rapid progress within 3 years and have today's status. But now, Lin Xueran told him that she didn't need him. What a fucking joke. Count the balls. He was also relieved. If life is only like the first sight, what is the sad autumn wind painting fan? The idle way leads to the heart, but the way leads to the ever-changing heart. His eyes became indifferent. Everyone knows who betrayed whom. There's no need to come with me to climb the Zhang family. Lin Xueran suddenly turned pale and said, You investigate me. Chen Yi's eyes were sarcastic and he didn't speak. Since you know, let me be frank. Zhang Xiao has already proposed to me and is only waiting for you to sign now. But to put it bluntly, I have already taken the photo of you and my secretary rolling on the same bed just now. The evidence is sufficient, and you can't take any of the Lin family's property. Take your tattered bedding and get lost. Chen Yi didn't rush but laughed instead. That would be great. Because Lin Xueran had no idea how terrifying his assets were. This smile surprised Lin Xueran and made her inexplicably angry. It's like being a clown, wanting to exert force but punching cotton. Sign. As you wish. Chen Yi raised his eyebrows and finished speaking, then signed his name on the agreement and left the room. As soon as he left, Lin Xueran's secretary finally breathed a sigh of relief and said, Mr. Lin, we have finally taken care of him. Playing bed scenes with such people is disgusting to me. The secretary is full of disgust. But Lin Xueran remained silent. It was originally a happy thing. But the result was that Chen Yi's heart was twisted to death. A son.in.law, why is he so tough? On the other side, Chen Yi breathed a sigh of relief as he walked out of the room. 3 years have passed, and he can be considered as repaying the kindness of that year. 8 years ago, when Chen Yi was in a lonely and difficult situation, it was Lin Xueran who gave him a bowl of steaming hot noodles. 5 years later, he went down the mountain to practice and his master gave him 7 marriage letters, all of which were from top families. But Chen Yi returned all his engagement and resolutely chose to repay the debt. I just didn't expect that things change and people's hearts change easily. But he doesn't regret it. It's not his fault. Just as he was thinking, his phone rang. After connecting, a tempting voice came from over there. Junior brother, I have already arranged for the Honghai project, the Lin family. The voice is Chen Yi's third senior sister, Shang Qingyue, who is also the richest person in Fanghua City today and the founder of Qingyue Group. She is a cold and heartless female powerhouse. But in front of his junior brother, it is another side. Except for the third senior sister, the other 6 senior sisters are also unparalleled in their glory. Master Jie guarded northern Xinjiang and became the first female war god of the Dragon Kingdom. Second senior sister is a peerless holy doctor, 1,000 gold coins are hard to find. Fourth senior sister Lan Zhenhuizi has become one of the top-selling female writers in the world. Fifth senior sister Chen Yi's mind flashed with beautiful faces, feeling warm in her heart. What does the old man think? No, what do you think? Gone, choose to hang from a crooked neck tree. Senior sister, arrange the project as you please, it has nothing to do with the Lin family, Chen Yi interrupted her. You. Lin Xueran and I divorced. Chen Yi's voice was very plain. On the other side of the phone, Shang Qingyue's voice immediately exploded. What? How dare Lin Xueran? She's blind. Since that's the case, I'll take these damn things back to their original form. If you dare to provoke her junior brother, you must not be forgiven. Senior sister, don't worry. Xiaoyi, you still speak for them. At the beginning, several martial sisters were uncomfortable with the old man because he gave you the marriage certificate. Later, you withdrew from the marriage, and everyone was very happy. As a result, you married Lin Xueran back, and the martial sisters all went down the mountain separately. The elder martial sister became angry, and many old stories were uncovered. Cough cough, senior sister, stop talking and listen to you. Chen Yi blushed and didn't know what to say. After a moment of silence over there, he said, you don't have a place to go now. I'll pick you up and come to my place to relax. If your other senior sisters find out about this, not only the Lin family but also the entire Dragon Kingdom will explode. Shang Qingyue's voice was filled with coldness, and after speaking, she seemed to think of something. By the way, that Miss Gu is in a hurry to find you and said she wants you to treat her friend's illness. Gu Yu. A beautiful figure came to Chen Yi's mind. This person was one of the candidates on his wedding letter back then. Just when Chen Yi was obsessed with repaying kindness, he dismissed him. Let's talk about it another day. But Chen Yi doesn't want to have any involvement with people from the past. Not good. Looking on the face. How awkward. After speaking, hang up and then go downstairs. A few minutes later, as he was about to leave, a convoy led by a silver Porsche stopped at the hotel entrance with a sudden sound of brakes. Kicking and pounding, accompanied by the crisp sound of high heels tapping, a tall and beautiful figure entered the hotel lobby, followed by several black suits, instantly becoming the focus of everyone. Why did Miss Gu come? A cry of surprise sounded. Chen Yi looked up and saw a woman in a silver sequin waist skirt with a strong aura walking straight towards him. A woman has a stunning appearance and a cool and otherworldly temperament. But those eyes, looking at Chen Yi, carried a hint of urgency. Chen Yi's eyes were somewhat stunned. But then he smiled bitterly. Senior sister, sell me. Chapter 2. Women who have been divorced. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The person who came was none other than Gu Yu mentioned on the phone just now. Long time no see. Gu Yu approached Chen Yi and hesitated to speak. The fierce demeanor that appeared on stage disappeared in front of Chen Yi, but was a bit restrained. This surprised many guests in the lobby. Everyone looked at Chen Yi in shock and whispered softly. "You already know what my senior sister told you." Chen Yi felt a little helpless. Guyu nodded. "Okay, let's go. I'll take a look at your friend's illness." "Thank you." Guyu didn't say much, then guided Chen Yi to his own car. After Chen Yi got into the car, she suddenly said, "Wait for me first." After speaking, he turned around and headed back towards the hotel. At this moment, Guyu's eyes became cold, with an indescribable anger. Chen Yi didn't pay much attention initially, but soon after, screams came from the hotel lobby. This voice is very familiar. It seems to belong to his ex-wife. And her secretaries. Then, I saw Guyu walking out of the hotel lobby. Walking with a gentle breeze, imposing and tight. The car door opened, and as she got in, Chen Yi could clearly feel that she was still panting. "You're not going to hit someone, are you?" Chen Yi looked dumbfounded. Guyu's face showed a strange blush. "Did my senior sister ask you to do it? I also want to do it myself." "She should." Guyu's voice was a bit tight as he secretly scrutinized Chen Yi's reaction in the rearview mirror. Chen Yi smiled. This cold-tempered woman was inexplicably a bit cute. "Let's drive." Half an hour later, Guyu drove with Chen Yi to a hospital. Nanhua Hospital, jointly founded with the Provincial Medical Association, attracts many people from outside Fanghua City to seek medical treatment here. On the way here, Guyu talked about his best friend's situation. Her best friend's name is Meng Yiyao and she comes from the Meng family in the provincial capital. Arriving at the hospital, Guyu headed straight to the higher ward. Inside the ward, a woman with a delicate appearance but a very pale face lay on the bed, her beautiful eyes tightly closed. There is also a middle-aged couple around her, who are her parents. At this moment, the couple was at a loss and pacing back and forth in front of the hospital bed, feeling exhausted. "Aunt Meng, Uncle Meng, I have found a doctor." Guyu hurried in. "Which famous doctor is it?" Meng Dehua quickly asked. Immediately after, a handsome and young man followed Guyu in. He. "Xiaoyu, are you serious? You are Yao's friend, this is not a joke." Meng's father's face showed a hint of anger. "No matter how the man in front of me looks, he has nothing to do with the word miracle doctor." Guyu knew their concerns and said, "As long as he is here, Yao's illness will definitely be cured." She was well aware of Chen Yi's abilities, as he had cured his grandfather's terminal illness 3 years ago. Grandpa has been reciting it all these years. It's also a pity. Unfortunately, he refused to marry her. Guyu spoke solemnly, but the Meng couple still doubted. "Uncle Meng, Aunt Meng, please let him give it a try. We have known each other since we were young, so how could we harm her?" Guyu explained anxiously. The Meng couple glanced at each other and then turned to Chen Yi. Seeing what the two of them were thinking, Chen Yi said calmly, "Does your daughter usually have anorexia and difficulty sleeping?" Upon hearing this, the two couldn't help but feel a bit stunned. "Although you have taken her to see many doctors and take a lot of medication, she has not improved at all and even developed a coma." Chen Yi continued speaking, and their eyes suddenly changed. "Why don't you let him try?" Meng Mu tried to speak. Father Chen hesitated and nodded. Chen Yi just stepped forward and began to pulse Meng Yiyao. A few seconds later, his mind became clear. Immediately, he took out a silver needle and began to treat her. The Meng couple felt a little relieved when they saw his skillful movements. Hiss. In no time, Meng Yiyao showed an extremely painful expression and her face furrowed tightly. "Daughter." Mr. and Mrs. Meng were anxious. "Who wants you to get an injection like this?" Just then, a scolding sounded outside the door. Then an old man wearing reading glasses with a serious face walked slowly in. It is Liao Qingyun, the director of Nanhua Hospital. Following closely behind, there was a man in a suit and leather shoes, as well as several medical staff. Uncle Meng, Aunt Meng, fortunately, I have brought Dean Liao back. The man's proud expression delighted the Meng couple. Dean Liao. Why did you come? Aren't you out now? Now, Meng's father didn't care about Chen Yi and quickly welcomed him. I was originally giving a lecture on a topic in a neighboring city, but when Mr. Zhao Xian found out, he urgently sent a helicopter to pick me up, Liao Qingyun said in a low voice. Ah Xian, you have a heart. Meng's father was very excited and threw a approving look at the man in the suit. With Dean Liao taking action, I can rest assured. Where did he come from? Zhao Xian caught a glimpse of Chen Yi, his tone sharp. Speak politely, Chen Yi was invited by me to treat Yao's illness. Gu Yu's face turned cold. She also knows this young master Zhao Xian, who is also a descendant of the provincial capital and has been pursuing Meng Yao. However, because of his bad style, Meng Yao has always been indifferent to him. Treating illness. Liao Qingyun approached and gave Meng Yao a pulse, then looked at Chen Yi's needle and spoke solemnly, Mr. Meng, your daughter's illness is a common secretion disorder that causes loss of appetite, menstrual disorders, and other phenomena. In addition, her weak constitution, lack of supplementation for deficiency, and excess yin qi make her condition worse and worse. This needle has no structure, it floats up against the wind, it's just ridiculous. He looked at Chen Yi and scolded, young man, if you're not skilled enough, you can't blindly give people injections. This is a matter that will kill people. Chen Yi frowned. Dean Liao indeed had some skills, but he was still missing the most important point. Oh, sir, Miss Meng's illness is not just about excess yin energy. Liao Qingyun saw that the young man was still stubborn with him and didn't have a good temper. So, you should talk about it. What do you think? The accumulation of yin qi is just a superficial phenomenon, and the most important thing is that her excess yin qi causes a decline in the function of the 5 internal organs, which cannot be reversed in a short period of time. Chen Yi in this field, without emotion, said, to save her, you must. No need to say. Liao Qingyun interrupted him impatiently and said, before I came, the hospital had already conducted a comprehensive examination of her, and I had just pulsed her. If she really had a decline in her internal organs, she wouldn't be able to detect it. Do you want to say that your medical skills are even more powerful than instruments? The oppressive words made the atmosphere in the ward solemn. Look, Gu Yu, where are you looking for this guy? Zhao Xian greedily glanced at Gu Yu, then looked at Chen Yi contemptuously and scolded, don't get out yet. You. Gu Yu was not satisfied. Gu Yu. Take him out, don't affect Dean Liao. Meng's father said calmly at this moment. Gu Yu's face changed. Let's go. Chen Yi looked at Gu Yu's face and was very straightforward. It seems that these people don't shed tears until they see the coffin. Leaving the ward with great strides. Chapter 3. Narrow Avenues for Enemies. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Yu immediately chased after him and apologized, sorry Chen Yi, it's my fault. I didn't expect it to turn out like this, but I believe in you. Her firm gaze added a different kind of emotion to Chen Yi's heart. Remembering the injustice she held for herself, she smiled. If your friend's condition worsens, have him seal the acupoints of Huitian and bailing with a needle, which can temporarily delay, Chen Yi said and walked straight away. The first floor of the hospital is the trauma department. 2 voices were crying, and they were furious. Chen Yi, this bastard, surprisingly found a mistress to attack me. Shikai, you must find that slut. Yes, President Zhang, look, the new eyeliner of others has been thrown askew. In a ward, Lin Xueran and her secretary were crying in front of a man with a gloomy face. It is evident that both women have injuries on their faces. Lin Xueran still had clear fingerprints on her face, slightly swollen cheeks, and external injuries to her knees. Her secretary's eyes were even crooked. And the man in front of them was Zhang Shikai, the young master of the Zhang family, with a mischievous aura on his body. Zhang Shikai's face was gloomy. "Good kid, if you dare to call me, I'll give you a call." He was about to pick up his phone when Lin Xueran let out a scream and pointed towards the door. "Chen Yi." I saw Chen Yi walking towards the outside of the hospital. "Stop the person." Zhang Shikai recognized Chen Yi, gave a sinister smile, and shouted at the two strong men behind him. On Chen Yi's side, as soon as he walked out of the hospital hall, he put two strong and sturdy hands on his shoulders. A sinister sound came from behind. "Kid, don't leave." Chen Yi swayed his shoulders. Those two hands seemed to have received some tremendous force and immediately dispersed. "Damn it, you still want to hide." Two big men got angry and, disregarding the occasion, swung their fists directly at Chen Yi, who had turned around. Bang, bang! Chen Yi saw two troublemakers and was not used to it at all, kicking them twice with one foot in a row. The other two formed a bow shape and then rubbed against the ground. Stopped directly at the feet of three newcomers. Chen Yi. Lin Xueran was in a fit of rage. "You're just scumbag. I was really blind back then. Marry you." Chen Yi felt a pang of nausea when he saw these three people. "Oh, that's really unfair to you. Oh, how did you make such a face? You." Lin Xueran was going crazy with anger. What a phoenix man with sharp teeth and sharp mouth. At this moment, Zhang Shikai stood up with a gloomy expression on his face. "Apologize to Xueran, kneel down, otherwise." "Otherwise, what about you?" Chen Yi raised his eyebrows and looked at the young master Zhang. "Take care of me." "Damn it," Zhang Shikai was interrupted by Chen Yi's tone and kicked the two useless subordinates below. "Waste, if you don't get out of here, give this kid a break." The two strong men were also in a frenzy, standing up and ready to take action. At this moment, Chen Yi. "Mr. Chen. Please stay." As soon as the words fell, two figures hurriedly came over. "It is Gu Yu and Meng's father." Meng's father's expression was very anxious, and his footsteps were a bit disorganized. He rushed to Chen Yi with a regretful and sincere expression on his face, saying, "Mr. Chen, it was me who was not good just now. I only have such a daughter, and I acted improperly, blaming you. Please forgive me." Chen Yi's condition suddenly worsened just now. "If it weren't for your method, she might have been critically ill now." Gu Yu explained with a worried expression. "Can you?" "Shikai, that's this slut." She had to speak when she was interrupted by a sharp sound. Lin Xueran pointed at Gu Yu with an angry expression. Sure enough, these two have an affair. Although he had caused an affair for Chen Yi in name, knowing that he had an affair with another woman really shattered Lin Xueran's mentality. Especially, this woman looks much better than herself. And Lin Xueran also understood that someone wanted to seek treatment from Chen Yi. Even when he said, "Sir, don't fall for the trap of these adulterous and promiscuous couples. He's just a phoenix man who only knows how to do laundry and cook at home. He never knows any medical skills." "Shut up." Meng's father became furious upon hearing this and glared at her. "What kind of thing are you? How dare you disrespect Mr. Chen?" Lin Xueran was so angry at the scolding that he tilted his neck and said, "I am his ex-wife. We have been married for 3 years, not to mention treating his illness. He doesn't even have a decent job." As the words fell, Gu Yu's face turned completely cold beside him. I saw her walking straight towards Lin Xueran. "Pop. Give her a slap. You don't understand anything at all." Gu Yu looked down at her with a tone as cold as ice. "If it weren't for you." She didn't say anything more. Actually, she wants to say that if it weren't for her, she would have had the opportunity to be with Chen Yi. But Lin Xueran was slapped and immediately went into hysteria. Bitch, I'm going to kill you. Shikai, she looked at Guyu with resentment and pitifully sought help from Zhang Shikai. He was greeted by Zhang Shikai's convulsive face and a sudden big mouth. Shut up. After finishing the draw, Zhang Shikai bowed to Guyu in fear. Mr. Gu, it's all misunderstandings, it's all misunderstandings. Guyu looked at him coldly with a displeased expression. Are you? We, Jiangshan Group, have cooperated with you before. Take care of your people. Guyu turned around and then said to Chen Yi. Chen Yi, Uncle Meng also loves deeply. I hope you can understand. Could you please help me? Chen Yi saw that this woman had helped him get angry again, and he couldn't refuse even if he wanted to. Nod and then leave. Meng's father quickly followed. On the spot, only Lin Xueran with a shocked expression and Zhang Shikai with a gloomy expression remained. In the ward. Seeing Chen Yi really being invited back, Zhao Xian looked displeased and stood up, saying, Uncle Meng, you can't believe this guy who talks nonsense. Do you have a better choice now? Meng's father's face darkened and he looked at Liao Qingyun. He had a bluish-white front and was at a loss. But. All right. Zhao Xian wanted to say something more, but Meng's father waved his hand and said, I understand your kindness, but now the most important thing is my daughter's safety. Then he directly set the other party aside and respectfully said to Chen Yi, Mr. Chen, please. Chen Yi nodded and went to the front of the hospital bed, pulling out the silver needle that sealed her acupoints. Meng Yiyao's face immediately turned white. Meng's father and mother were in a hurry, but immediately after, Chen Yi's speed was very fast, and the silver needles fell on Meng Yiyao like dragonflies skimming water one after another. In just 2 minutes, they landed a full 18 needles. However, Meng Yiyao's face became increasingly ugly, and her beautiful eyebrows furrowed into a ball. This made the Meng couple even more anxious. Zhao Xian immediately seized the opportunity and snorted coldly, I see this guy's ability is just like that. If you can't cure him later, I won't be the first to spare you. Chen Yi glanced at him sideways, but before he could speak, Liao Qingyun, who had remained silent, couldn't sit still. You. Liao Qingyun looked at Chen Yi in shock, his eyes full of disbelief. He had just been observing Chen Yi's needlework. At first, it seemed completely disorganized, but after the needle was formed, Liao Qingyun realized its terrifying aspect. Chapter 4. Smash Face. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Could it be the 18 needles of Riemannia that have long been lost in the medical classic? I have some insight, Chen Yi did not deny. Now, Liao Qingyun can't sit still anymore. It's really this acupuncture technique. I was fortunate enough to have seen it from the president of the medical association. With only 13 injections of Riemannia, he has cured countless incurable diseases. How could you use 18 injections of Riemannia? Liao Qingyun's heart was shaken to the extreme. Although the Meng couple did not understand medical skills, they also guessed something or two from his words, and were shocked in their hearts. Does this young man already possess medical skills that surpass those of the president of the Provincial Medical Association? Wow! At this moment, Meng Yiyao suddenly spat out a mouthful of black poisonous blood. Meng's mother quickly wiped her with a towel and then saw her daughter slowly opening her eyes. Mom, Dad, Yiyao. Daughter. The couple looked at it and their eyes turned red with excitement. How are you feeling? Dad, I don't seem to have anything else to do, Meng Yiyao shook her head. Did you save me? Meng Yiyao's beautiful eyes flickered as she turned to Chen Yi. Yiyao, you have to thank Mr. Chen well. I misunderstood him as a father before, and he disregarded his past grievances and cured you. But your life-saving benefactor. Meng's father quickly praised him, expressing gratitude from the bottom of his heart. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Meng Yao thanked Chen Yi. She is a woman with a gentle personality. You're welcome. Mr. Chen is very polite. He is young and has excellent medical skills. I heard that you have just divorced, and you are like a pearl in the dust. How about I betroth your little daughter to you? Meng's words were extremely sudden. Suddenly, the entire ward became quiet. Meng's words made everyone present dumbfounded. Zhao Xian couldn't sit still and his face looked ugly. Uncle Meng, are you confused? Although this kid saved Yao, his virtue doesn't deserve Yao. After speaking, he became even angrier. The key is, this guy is still divorced. Isn't this spreading making the Meng family a laughing stock? He never expected that Meng's father would make such a ridiculous decision. I think very clearly, Yao, are you willing? Meng's father looked at his daughter. As the head of the Meng family, Meng Tianlong is naturally not foolish and has passed the age of impulsiveness. After this incident, he realized the potential of Chen Yi. At such an age, one possesses more advanced medical skills than the president of a medical association. With just a little assistance, one can imagine their future achievements. Meng Yao looked at Chen Yi in front of her, who was upright and handsome. She nodded shyly and said, I listen to my father. Now, it made Zhao Xian so angry that he almost fainted. He worried so much for the Meng family, but was finally intercepted by this unknown Chen Yi. Okay. Okay. Meng's father laughed 3 times and looked at the final protagonist, Chen Yi. Guyu's beautiful eyes were also tightly fixed on Chen Yi, and his emotions were very complicated. She has already missed Chen Yi once, will she miss it again this time? Moreover, I still gave it to my best friend. No way. Today, no matter what, be brave and give it a try. Yao. Before Chen Yi could answer, Guyu stood up and whispered, Chen Yi can't be with you. For a moment, everyone was very shocked. Sister Yu. Meng Yao's small face was full of confusion. Because. Guyu took a deep breath and bravely said, I already have an engagement with him. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present couldn't help but be stunned. Xiaoyu, are you already engaged to him? After a while, Meng's father came to his senses and asked in surprise. Why have I never heard you mention it? We were engaged a long time ago, but due to some reasons, we haven't confirmed our relationship yet, so I'm sorry, Guyu smiled apologetically. After saying it, she felt like she had shed a big stone. Subconsciously glancing at Chen Yi, the latter remained silent, unsure of what he was thinking, which made Guyu feel a bit disappointed. I should be sorry, I don't know what happened between you and him, Meng Yao said softly. Zhao Xian had an impulse to vomit blood. How could these 2 beautiful women compete for Chen Yi together? It's his mother crazy. What's even more frustrating is that the kid hasn't reacted from start to finish. Pretending to be Nima. Don't give me a chance. Zhao Xian was furious in his heart. Although the marriage cannot be negotiated, your kindness to our family cannot be denied. Meng's father felt regretful and then handed 2 cards to Chen Yi. This is the small gift I prepared. In the first bank card, there is a reward of 5 million yuan. The second card is a special VIP card for all enterprises in our Meng family. Please accept it with a smile, Mr. Chen. Chen Yi has some knowledge of the Meng family's industry, which specializes in operating star-rated hotels and high-end restaurants. The brand is well-known throughout the province. Without hesitation, he took it over and said, since your daughter's illness has been cured, I'll leave first. Mr. Chen, take your time. Guyu watched him leave with mixed emotions. And as soon as Chen Yi left the hospital in the front foot, he received information from Shang Qingyue in the back foot. The bidding meeting for Honghai Engineering is scheduled for tonight. Do you want to attend? Chen Yi thought for a moment and replied with one word. Go. Although this bidding meeting was originally prepared for the Lin family, now Chen Yi has other ideas. That night, Wantian Square was filled with countless luxury cars. As the #1 enterprise in Fanghua City, Qingyue Group held a bidding meeting here, attracting half of the enterprises in Fanghua City. Although they know that there is only one quota for bidding, it will not fall on them, but everyone wants to take this opportunity to meet more friends. After all, this bidding fair is a membership system, and only companies with a market price of tens of millions can receive an invitation letter from Qingyue Group. Please show me the invitation letter. Chen Yi was about to enter when he was stopped by the person at the door. I am Chen Yi said calmly. He naturally didn't have an invitation letter, but he thought that his senior sister must have already arranged it. Unexpectedly, the guard at the door had never heard of him at all. Directly replied, I don't care who you are. If you want to enter, you must have an invitation letter. Chen Yi's eyebrows straightened and he suddenly became speechless. This senior sister is really capable of causing trouble. He was too lazy to argue with this guard and directly took his phone to contact Shang Qingyue. But I heard a furious voice from behind. Chen Yi, how dare you appear? Chen Yi turned around and saw that Lin Xueran, who had an unpleasant expression, was speaking. And by her side, it was Zhang Shikai. Both of them had a bad expression on their faces. During the day, the two of them investigated. They all agreed that it was Chen Yi, a phoenix man who pretended to be a divine doctor and deceived the Miss Gu family, becoming their guest of honor. Is this where you, a waste, should come from? Zhang Shikai said with a sinister expression on his face. I'll come if I want, it's none of your business. Chen Yi was too lazy to use words. A useless guy like you, you can't even enter the door. Are you still arrogant in front of me? Zhang Shikai said with a mischievous expression, I haven't even calculated with you last time. A useless and powerful person who dares to pretend to be a miracle doctor in front of Mr. Gu in order to gain power. It will be exposed later, and I don't even know how you died. Lin Xueran was full of hatred. It seems that you want to sneak into the bidding meeting of Qingyue Group, but you are just a pitiful person who only knows how to eat soft rice. Zhang Shikai said calmly. Chen Yi didn't want to pay attention to the noisy two and turned around to get his phone to contact his senior sister. Zhang Shikai sneered and said, we have an invitation letter, and one invitation letter can bring one person. If you kowtow to me now and admit your mistake, I can take you inside. You too. Chen Yi glanced at them and then showed a mocking smile. What are you laughing at? Zhang Shikai's face was displeased. Your invitation letters, I find them dirty. Chen Yi said calmly. Dog thing. I really thought I climbed onto the high branch of the Gu family, at any cost. Zhang Shikai pointed directly at Chen Yi and scolded the two guards, this kid is causing trouble on the territory of the Qingyue Group. Don't drive him away yet. The two guards looked at each other and were about to take action. Zhang Shikai's face immediately showed pride and said, please beg for mercy from me now, and I can let you in and see the world. As soon as the words fell, a shout came from behind. Chen Yi was invited by me, who dares to stop him? Chapter 5. Resurrection of Conflict. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Yi turned around and saw a beautifully dressed beauty hurriedly arriving, which was Shang Qingyue. She glared brightly and said, what are you two? How dare you bark in front of him? Shang Qingyue took a few steps into the middle of the three, completely blocking Chen Yi behind her in a protective posture. Lin Xueran only felt that the person in front of her was somewhat familiar, but at this moment, her anger had already overwhelmed her mind, she said sternly. Who are you again? This is the bidding meeting of Qingyue Group, not a place where every cat and dog can come. Upon hearing this, Zhang Shikai's face changed greatly. At least he often frequented various commercial occasions, so as soon as Shang Qingyue appeared, he immediately recognized her identity. Before Shang Qingyue could speak, he had already slapped Lin Xueran in the face. "Fool! Who do you think you're talking to?" Then he hurriedly bowed his head to Shang Qingyue and said, "President Shang, this fool has eyes and doesn't know anything about it. Don't argue with her." "Shang! Mr. Shang!" Lin Xueran stood with her palm imprint, completely dumbfounded in place. The only person in Fanghua City who can be called Shang Zong is Shang Qingyue, the founder and actual person in power of Qingyue Group. Chen Yi, this useless phoenix man, actually knows such a big shot. "Xiaoyi, are you okay?" Shang Qingyue didn't even pay attention to the two people in front of her and turned to Chen Yi, saying. Chen Yi helplessly said, "Senior sister, what do you want to play with?" The two stood very close and seemed extremely intimate in order to speak. Lin Xueran exclaimed incredulously, "Mr. Shang, this kid is just a phoenix man who only knows how to eat soft meals. Don't be deceived by him." Zhang Shikai quickly added, "That's right, Xueran has a kind heart and raised this kid for 3 years, but he knows every day that he sucks Xueran's blood. It's really not a good thing." Upon hearing these words, Shang Qingyue finally turned her gaze to the two of them. "So it's just you guys." The incident happened suddenly, and just now Shang Qingyue really didn't recognize who they were. "Are you Lin Xueran?" Her gaze was contemptuous. Lin Xueran didn't expect such a big shot to know his name, and was immediately flattered. That's right, Mr. Shang. Such a useless person is best at lying and deceiving people. You must be careful. Is that right?" Shang Qingyue gave a cold smile. "I really haven't thought about what I should do now if you don't show up in front of me," she said, took out her phone, and was ready to call someone. There was a lot of activity here, and it was at the entrance of the venue. In just a while, many people had already gathered around. Upon closer inspection, there was actually a person in charge of the Qingyue group inside, and the voices of discussion among those around him suddenly grew louder. Chen Yi stood among them and inevitably became the center of the topic. "He really doesn't like being talked about," he said to Shang Qingyue at the moment. "Senior sister, forget it. The bidding meeting is about to start, let's go first." Shang Qingyue felt a bit regretful, but she also understood the temperament of this junior brother very well. She could only snort coldly and walked in with Chen Yi. "Just as I passed by the door, I still shouted solemnly at the 2 guards. What are you still waiting for? I don't want to see such dirty things in the venue of Qingyue Group." With her command, even if those 2 people were shouting loudly behind them, it was impossible for them to step into the entrance of the venue. Shang Qingyue originally intended to enter in a low-key manner, as she had not seen Chen Yi for a long time and had a lot to talk about. However, the commotion at the door made everyone aware that Shang Qingyue had already entered, so as soon as the 2 of them entered, Shang Qingyue had to leave. Before leaving, she deliberately took Chen Yi to the VIP seat in the front row. "This is a seat specifically reserved for you. Don't worry, sit down and no one will disturb you again." After finishing speaking, he hurriedly left and didn't forget to call his secretary. "You stay nearby and have to meet all his needs. Do you understand?" The secretary nodded repeatedly. Chen Yi thought that as long as he sat quietly, there would be no accidents tonight. After all, he has always been low-key, and in the eyes of the upper class in Fanghua City, he is just an unknown person. Obviously, he felt relieved too early. "Chen Yi, why are you also here?" A surprised female voice came from the side. Chen Yi turned his head and realized it was Gu Yu and Meng Yiyao. "If you have nothing to do, just take a look," Chen Yi replied with a smile. He focused on Meng Yiyao's face and noticed that she had a rosy complexion, clearly recovering well. He couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. Although Miss Meng is no longer in any serious condition, she has just recovered from her serious illness. During this period, she still needs to pay more attention to her health and avoid overwork. Meng Yiyao was taken aback for a moment, not realizing that Chen Yi was just caring about her body when she opened her mouth. The man in front of her had a warm smile and looked at her as if he was very serious. Her face couldn't help blushing. Dean Liao said, "I'm already doing well. I just need to take care of myself when I go home. I've been lying in bed for too long and it's really stuffy, so I asked Sister Yu to take me out for a ventilation." Upon hearing this, Chen Yi thought for a moment and spoke up. "If you don't mind, I do have a few dietary remedies on my end. It's just that they're all personal and not very authoritative." Meng Yao was pleasantly surprised and thanked her repeatedly, not wanting to. Gu Yu, who was standing beside him, saw the two of them chatting happily and vaguely felt that he had been ignored, feeling a bit dejected for a moment. However, she didn't expect that Chen Yi was just a subconscious action of a doctor's parents, and she really didn't have any other thoughts. They are in harmony here, but some people can't sit still. "Why is it you again?" Zhao Xian originally planned to find Liao Qingyun to brush his feet in the Meng family, but unexpectedly, he was snatched the limelight by a young man who had been killed halfway. He couldn't be content with it, so when he heard about Meng Yao's itinerary, he immediately chased after her. "Just as I found Meng Yao's figure, I saw an extremely eye-catching person. Do you know what this place is? Do you know how much wealth is needed for entry here?" Zhao Xian had already had the intention of making a big fuss and deliberately shouted loudly. In addition, with the presence of two well-known socialites, Gu Yu and Meng Yao, the attention of the whole audience was instantly drawn. Zhao Xuanmu's achievement made him feel proud and his voice grew louder. "If I remember correctly, you're a Phoenix man who specializes in eating soft meals, right? And you're also a recently dumped guy, right?" Upon hearing the voices of discussions surrounding him, Zhao Xian's emotions grew even higher. What's going on? Is this someone who has fallen in love with another rich woman? It's not like I said, be a good person, it's better to be practical so that you can recognize your social class. Yao, I'm not wrong, right? Meng Yao had no interest in this playboy and frowned upon hearing this. What are you doing? Who allowed you to say such things to him? Gu Yu also took a step forward and shouted at Zhao Xian. Enough. This is not a place for you to act wild. Zhao Xian didn't care at all what they said and waved at the security guard at the venue. Get rid of this trash that came in with an invitation letter. Chapter 6. Easy Resolution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The security guards inside the venue were still watching and dared not step forward rashly. Unexpectedly, the secretary and lackey behind Zhao Xian had quickly come forward. He was full of flattery towards Zhao Xian, so he immediately grabbed Chen Yi's collar and forcefully pushed him out. All of a sudden, Chen Yi didn't react at all. The push was firm and Chen Yi stumbled back a few steps. Chen Yi. Gu Yu was greatly surprised by the situation and instinctively rushed forward. Chen Yi just didn't expect the other party to be so unreasonable and not really useless. How could a girl really participate in such a thing? He immediately raised his hand to stop Gu Yu's movements, and then smoothed out his clothes. Zhao Xian saw that he was eating too much, and his face was originally full of pride, but he found that Chen Yi's face was calm at this moment, without any panic. Mr. Zhao, what does this mean? Chen Yi spoke calmly. Zhao Xian smiled arrogantly and said, What do I mean? It's just cleaning up the clutter. As he spoke, he gave his dog leg a wink. The person quickly understood and took a few steps forward. Without saying a word, he raised his fist and swung it towards Chen Yi. Chen Yi let out a soft click, it seemed that he couldn't continue to keep a low profile. He is not afraid at all. You should know that he just hates violence, not his lack of martial arts skills. To successfully graduate from the hands of a master, one should not only focus on medical skills. The lackey didn't originally take the seemingly fragile little white face in front of him seriously, but he couldn't help but be shocked after only 2 or 3 moves. He admitted that his martial arts were not bad, otherwise he wouldn't dare to charge ahead, but the person in front of him was able to handle it with ease, and a few blocks could easily resolve his moves. Zhao Xian. What kind of nerve are you getting? Meng Yao is a wealthy young lady living in a pile of brocades. When did she see such a scene? Moreover, in order to please her, Zhao Xian always wore a well-dressed appearance. At this moment, his true face was exposed, which frightened her and made her look pale. The security guards at the venue were originally unaware of what had happened, but when they saw the escalation of the conflict, they immediately rushed forward and the situation further escalated. At this moment, Chen Yi was facing 7 or 8 people alone, and even security guards were running towards him. Guyu's face turned pale with fear, but he didn't know what he could do. After some thought, he gritted his teeth and wanted to rush to find Shang Qingyue. Stop it! A shout of anger came from not far away, with a cold voice. Guyu quickly turned around and was pleasantly surprised to find that it was Shang Qingyue. Originally, the secretary left by Shang Qingyue saw that the situation was not right and had already taken the lead in finding her. Shang Qingyue saw her junior brother surrounded by a group of people from afar, who were still her own security guards. She suddenly became furious and stepped forward quickly. What are you doing? The security guards saw that the person coming was their own boss, and one by one, they were very anxious and stopped moving. Zhao Xian's lackey had already faintly realized that he had offended someone he shouldn't have, and he was secretly regretting it. Seeing this, he also stopped. Chen Yi was originally a passive resistance, and he didn't want to ruin his senior sister's situation. He dusted his sleeves, stopped his hands, and stood up. Senior sister, I apologize for the small commotion. Shang Qingyue wouldn't blame him for such a thing. She stood still in front of Chen Yi, looked up and down, and her tone was actually quite proud. I'll just say, these few people, how can they be your opponents? Chen Yi gave a faint smile without refuting. Guyu only then noticed that even after such a melee, Chen Yi's breath remained calm, except for a few inconspicuous wrinkles on his clothes, there was no sign of embarrassment. Combined with what Shang Qingyue had just said, she suddenly realized that Chen Yi had not taken these people seriously. And Shang Qingyue is clearly aware of Chen Yi's abilities. Watching the two of them smiling at each other, Guyu's heart couldn't help but feel sour. If, back then Shang Qingyue had already learned everything from her secretary before rushing over. She originally wanted to find out the culprit Zhao Xian, but she didn't expect that the bidding time had arrived. The host was so anxious that she desperately gestured at her on stage. Chen Yi also saw that he was not a petty person, otherwise he wouldn't have let Lin Xueran leave so easily at that time. Senior sister, business matters. He advised in a low voice. Shang Qingyue couldn't help but say in a resentful voice, some people's skin, it's best to tighten it a bit. She spoke, her gaze fixed on Zhao Xian, clearly indicating something. Zhao Xian, on the other hand, has always been the most adept at judging the situation and has long been hiding on the side, shrinking his neck without saying a word. Honghai Engineering is a project led by Qingyue Group, and it is said that there is also participation from the top. Therefore, the entire business community in Fanghua is moved by the news, and everyone is envious. And Chen Yi knows best what's going on. After all, this was originally intended as a gift for the Lin family. As long as the Lin family takes it, it will leap from a nouveau riche to a true upper class of youth. This bidding meeting is just a passing act. However, now, Chen Yi sneered at himself, and of course, the Lin family could no longer be related to this extraordinary wealth. The bidding meeting proceeded quickly and quickly reached the bidding stage. The above is the complete introduction of Honghai Engineering. Now, we will enter the bidding stage. The host was impassioned on stage, and as soon as his words were finished, someone had already raised their cards. Mingxin Group offers 500 million yuan. Zhiyuan Group offers 1 billion yuan. Gumming Group offers 1.3 billion yuan. The atmosphere on site was hot, and Shang Qingyue and Chen Yi exchanged a glance. Chen Yi shook his head, indicating that he had no intention of the Honghai project. He had other plans in mind. On the side, Zhao Xian, who had been closely monitoring him, saw everything in his eyes. However, he completely misunderstood Chen Yi's meaning. He thought Chen Yi shook his head, feeling shy in his pocket and retreating knowing it was impossible to win the project. A thought flashed by, and Zhao Xian immediately raised his hand. Zhaoshi offers 5 billion yuan. As soon as these words were spoken, the scene fell silent. It is obvious that Zhao Xian broke the rhythm of on-site bidding. Chen Yi frowned and looked at Zhao Xian. I saw him grin at me with an extremely arrogant expression, full of provocation. Chen Yi instantly realized it and was very speechless. Shang Qingyue sat next to him, and of course, she also saw Zhao Xian's expression. She regretted not solving this person just now. Chen Yi remained calm and suddenly raised his hand. Chen Yi is 5.1 billion yuan. Shang Qingyue suddenly looked at him in surprise. Zhao Xian clearly didn't expect Chen Yi to dare to raise his hand at such a time, and he gritted his teeth. Zhaoshi 6 billion. Chen Yi gestured for Shang Qingyue to be calm and not agitated, and raised his hand again. Chen Yi is 6.1 billion yuan. Over and over again, even discerning people could tell that they were on the fence. Chen Yi. You didn't expect Chen Yi to suddenly make a bid, and he called out slightly worried. Chen Yi heard it, but did not answer, only secretly raised an eyebrow at her. Chapter 7. Starting a private room incident. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Gu Yu's heart skipped a beat and he realized something. Chen Yi's behavior of only 100 million more than Zhao Xian each time completely angered him, and Zhao Xian almost lost his sanity. Zhaoshi Group can only be considered second-rate in the business world. Although Zhao's father instructed Zhao Xian to do his best to win the Honghai project, the current bid clearly exceeds Zhaoshi's ability. The secretary next to Zhao Xian was desperately winking at his boss. Zhao Xian looked at Chen Yi's smiling face and felt that it was exceptionally dazzling. He gritted his teeth and raised his cards again. Zhaoshi offers 7 billion yuan. After speaking, he immediately looked back at Chen Yi. Zhao Xian couldn't believe how much money Chen Yi, a little white-faced person, could have. Just now, he also saw the lawsuit between Chen Yi and Shang Qingyue, and Zhao Xian had already concluded that Chen Yi's money came from Shang Qingyue. Just a little white face, how much money can Shang Qingyue give him? Sure enough, Zhao Xian saw clearly that Chen Yi's expression had changed. Chen Yi even gave Shang Qingyue a seemingly absent glance before raising his hand, with a hint of hesitation in his voice. 7.1 billion. Zhao Xian immediately became excited, even though his secretary was so anxious that he couldn't care anymore and kept gesturing at him. 8 billion. Chen Yi's expression was already unbearable, constantly looking at Shang Qingyue. Shang Qingyue looked puzzled. What is junior brother doing? He can't afford to take out this money. 0.81 billion. Zhao Xian didn't know the real situation, but seeing Chen Yi really starting to struggle, his face turned red with excitement. 10 billion. As soon as the words fell, the entire venue was in an uproar. Zhao Xian's secretary was sweating profusely, desperately tugging at his sleeve. Boss, what are you doing? Selling the entire Zhaoshi cannot bring in 10 billion yuan. Seeing that everyone in the venue had different expressions, Chen Yi finally hooked his lips with satisfaction. Shang Qingyue suddenly realized that junior brother did it intentionally. She gave a sly smile and made a gesture towards the already stunned supporters on stage. The host immediately reacted. Sir, your behavior seriously disrupts the order of the venue. We have the right to cancel your bidding qualification unless you can pay all the fees on the spot. This sentence poured cold water on Zhao Xian like a basin of cold water. He instantly regained consciousness. Chen Yi spoke up at the right time. Zhao Gongzi, are everyone waiting? What do you think? Zhao Xian was already embarrassed, but seeing that Chen Yi's smile remained unchanged, he suddenly understood. However, now he can only bear this heavy loss. After all, he doesn't have the courage to cause trouble in front of Shang Qingyue. Zhao Xian glared angrily at Chen Yi, panting heavily. The secretary dared not let him continue to stay in the venue, but quickly pulled him away. After being disturbed like this, everyone seemed to realize something. The bidding process that restarted went exceptionally smoothly, and in the end, as Chen Yi had hoped, it was successfully auctioned off by Gu Yu. What? That trash dares to do this to you? On the phone, Lin's mother's scolding almost penetrated the microphone. After suffering from exhaustion on Chen Yi's side one after another, Lin Xueran felt extremely ashamed and made a phone call, adding fuel and vinegar to report to Lin's mother. In Sun Xiaoyan's impression, this Sun.in.law has a gentle personality, is very obedient, and hardly resists herself, which is also the biggest reason why she can tolerate her daughter and Chen Yi being together for 3 years. But now, how dare he? Sun Xiaoyan became increasingly angry as he thought about it, but after a few days of not teaching him a lesson, how dare this useless person treat his precious daughter like this? She coaxed Lin Xueran a few words and already had a plan in her heart. Gu Yu didn't expect Chen Yi to really give up such a large profit. Although it appears that she won the Honghai project through legitimate channels on the surface, as long as she is not foolish, she can guess how much effort Chen Yi put into it. Gu Yu is definitely a beautiful and intelligent woman. As soon as the bidding meeting ended, she sincerely invited Shang Qingyue and a few others to have a feast. At the banquet, Gu Yu raised his glass. Thank you Chen Yi, and I also want to thank Sister Qingyue. I have remembered this matter today in my heart, Gu Yu. As she spoke, she drank it quite heartily in one gulp. If there is anything you can do in the future, please feel free to give orders wherever you can use me. Gu Yu must not disobey. Shang Qingyue was able to turn Qingyue Group into the richest person in Fanghua City. Of course, she was not a petty person. She smiled heartily. What a big deal. Besides, this is not my intention, I'm just doing a favor. She said, looking at Chen Yi with a teasing gaze. Gu Yu immediately understood what she was saying, and immediately raised his glass again, bowing to Chen Yi. Meng Yiran, who was sitting next to her, also raised his glass to follow. One hand covered her wine glass, with distinct joints and slender fingers, which were exactly Chen Yi's hand. There are no outsiders here. As long as you understand the meaning, there's no need to drink so much. Girls should pay more attention, excessive drinking is not good for their health. As Chen Yi spoke, he fell ill with an occupational disease and was quite talkative. Gu Yu, however, showed no impatience and obediently put down the wine glass in his hand. I don't know if it's due to alcohol, but she looked at Chen Yi with sparkling water in her eyes and a strange blush on her cheeks. After Chen Yi finished talking about her, he turned to Meng Yiran, his expression even more disapproving. And you, what kind of fun to have at this time? You should pay attention to your diet recently, and alcohol is absolutely not allowed. Remember. If someone else dared to speak to the precious daughter of the Meng family like this, Meng would have already turned his back. But at this moment, the person facing him was Chen Yi, and Meng Yiran only had a face full of joy. All right. Junior brother, you're too verbose, you're like an old man. Shang Qingyue on the side couldn't bear to listen anymore and couldn't help but interrupt his words with a smile. The atmosphere in the private room was strong, and a few people were chatting happily. Suddenly, they only heard a loud bang. It seems that something hit the door heavily. A few people suddenly fell silent. Chen Yi reacted extremely quickly and quickly walked to the door, blocking several women behind him. Without waiting for him to respond, accompanied by another kick at the door, someone shouted loudly. Is Chen Yi, that useless person inside? Get out of here. With this shout, the private door also collapsed without being burdened. The women suddenly exclaimed in surprise and instinctively hid behind Chen Yi. Chen Yi pursed her lips tightly and looked at the figure appearing behind the door. Oh. Have you been living a good life with so many beautiful women accompanying you? Why, have you already chosen your next goal? Someone swept around the room, and when they opened their mouths, they were filled with mischief. Lin Shuwei, what do you want to do? That's right, this person is Lin Shueran's younger brother, Lin Shuwei. He was specifically called over by Lin's mother Sun Xiaoyun. Sun Xiaoyun also followed in his son's footsteps and appeared in front of everyone. Chen Yi, that's all I have to say about you. The consumption of this restaurant is too high for you, isn't it? Don't make a fool of yourself if you have nothing to do, otherwise you'll still be at a loss. Chapter 8. Drive away the obscure people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as Sun Xiaoyun spoke, it seemed as if he was all thinking about Chen Yi, with a thoughtful demeanor. Shang Qingyue, who knew the inside story, couldn't help but roll her eyes. Chen Yi's breath remained calm and unaffected by these people. He said in a deep voice, Auntie, this is a public place. Isn't it okay for you to do this? Who are you pointing fingers at? Lin Shuwei was using all means to trouble Chen Yi, so he almost couldn't wait to shout at Chen Yi. Chen Yi looked at him with a calm gaze and said, I'm talking about you, Lin Shuwei. In the past, Chen Yi always thought that it was better to do less than to do more. Coupled with his eagerness to repay kindness, he never cared too much about the words and actions of the Lin family. But now it's different. He believes he has already repaid his kindness, and there are multiple ladies behind him, so of course, he cannot compromise. Oh ho! Why, after being kicked out of our house, your courage has increased. Lin Shuwei's face was thrown away by Chen Yi for the first time, and with many recognized socialites present, his expression instantly became ugly. You don't want to be criticized even after being a little white-faced. You must have thought too well, right? Lin Shuwei said, even reaching out to poke Chen Yi's chest, feeling proud. If it were for a different occasion, Chen Yi might even back down a bit, but now, there is no such possibility. Almost at the moment when Lin Shuwei's fingers touched his chest, Chen Yi grabbed his right hand and firmly controlled Lin Shuwei's entire arm, then forcefully lifted it with a backhand. By the time Lin Shuwei realized it, he was already facing down and lying firmly on the floor. Before he could break free, Chen Yi had already stepped on his neck. Under my feet is the Fengfu acupoint. As long as I exert an extra force, it will immediately prevent you from walking and standing. How about that? Do you want to give it a try? Lin Shuwei didn't understand what Fengfu acupoint was, but the pain behind his neck couldn't be faked. He immediately screamed in fear. What are you doing? Don't forget my identity. Dare you do anything to me? Chen Yi didn't expect that Lin Shuwei's life and death hole would be at someone else's feet, and he could still be so foolish. He looked at Sun Xiaoyun. Auntie, do you think I dare or not? Sun Xiaoyun didn't expect things to turn so quickly and straight down. After eating a few more years than Lin Shuwei, she immediately assessed the situation and knelt down towards Shang Qingyue. Mr. Shang. Mr. Shang. Look. This useless person's mind is so malicious. She took a few steps on her knees and eagerly said to Shang Qingyue. Mr. Shang, don't you know yet? This person is my daughter's ex-husband. After 3 years of marriage, he not only took away countless assets from my Lin family, but now he even wants to harm my son's life. Turning his head again, he said to Gu Yumeng and his 2 daughters. He's just a trash who only knows how to eat soft meals. Miss Gu, Miss Meng, don't be fooled by this kid's nonsense. Gu Yu's face was full of anger and he said, what are you talking nonsense about? Who made you slander him like that? Don't think I don't know about the bad things your Lin family has done. Meng Yiran also didn't expect Chen Yi to have encountered these things before, and his tone was indignant. What kind of person Chen Yi is, our entire Meng family knows. No matter what, our Meng family will stand by his side. The attitude of these two people was too resolute, and Sun Xiaoyun's crying stopped for a moment. A sound of footsteps came from outside the door, and the security personnel called by Shang Qingyue through the inside line finally arrived. Drag these two people out for me. Shang Qingyue suppressed her anger. She knew her junior brother had a bad time at the Lin family before, but after all, she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, so she could still deceive herself. Now, these two people are actually doing such a thing under her nose. Shang Qingyue was burning with anger, feeling that the appearance of these two people in front of her was a kind of spiritual pollution. The security personnel quickly stepped forward. Lin Shuwei was still struggling. Chen Yi moved his foot and lightly kicked his waist with his toes. Lin Shuwei immediately stopped moving and passed out in an instant. Sun Xiaoyun couldn't stop him and watched helplessly as his son remained motionless. She didn't know that Chen Yi had just tapped Lin Shuwei's large acupoint on his waist, causing him to temporarily faint. I thought my son was really kicked half dead by Chen Yi, so I immediately ignored crying and chased after Lin Shuwei to leave. Looking at the backs of the two, Chen Yi rubbed his eyebrows a bit tired. It's disturbing everyone's interest, it's my fault. I'll definitely find an opportunity to apologize next time. He spoke apologetically. Shang Qingyue chuckled and said, this is too far-fetched. Besides, it's not your fault. Guyu nodded in agreement. There's no need to punish yourself with others' mistakes, Chen Yi, you know, I've always believed in you. She spoke, looking at Chen Yi with sparkling eyes, as if there were thousands of words in her eyes. Chen Yi, you saved my life, and I'm not even grateful yet. How could I blame you? Meng Yiran also smiled and spoke, but there seemed to be something hidden in his smile, a bit awkward. Chen Yi, that little rabbit, now his wings are getting harder and harder. In the hospital ward, the Lin family sat among them. Sun Xiaoyun thought his son had a big problem and quickly called Lin's father and Lin Shueran over. Fortunately, in no time, Lin Shuwei woke up on his own, and the doctor's examination also showed that there was no major problem. Shueran, how did he actually get to know Shang Qingyue and others? Do you know these things? Lin's father, who was fashionable and reserved a bit of rationality, pondered for a while before asking his daughter. Lin Shueran's expression was flustered at the words. How could she possibly know? Although she has been married for 3 years, she has never seen Chen Yi in her eyes. How could she take the initiative to understand each other's social circle? Not to mention anything else, just look at Chen Yi's small white face. It must be to hug General Shang's thigh. She reluctantly answered. Lin Quanfeng heard her perfunctory behavior and was somewhat dissatisfied. You don't even know about these things. What did you do for those 3 years? If I had known that he actually knew Mr. Shang, I shouldn't have driven him away so early. He was very worried and said, now it's over. Not only did he let go of a good opportunity for a monk to summarize and make friends, but he also caused your brother such a serious injury. Lin Shueran's face turned red after being scolded, hesitant to refute. Lin Shuwei, on the other hand, shouted even louder after listening. Dad, I really feel uncomfortable. Please have the doctor check on me again, be more careful. All the items need to be checked. In fact, Lin Shuwei really has no problem, it's just that Chen Yi's foot brought him too much fear, and he had a psychological shadow. Sun Xiaoyun has always indulged his children. Seeing his son's pale complexion, he immediately ignored many things and asked Lin Shueran to quickly call a doctor. He complained again, Shueran, it's not me who said you. Your younger brother was injured so seriously this time, why are you so indifferent? He's all for you. That's it. Lin Shuwaden echoed in unison. Chapter 9. Danger on the Road. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lin Shuaran's resentment grew stronger as she listened to the family's complaints about her. It's her fault again. When I divorced Chen Yi, the whole family applauded and cheered. She bit her lip and called for a doctor. Seeing everyone watching around Lin Shuwei, Lin Shuaran hit alone. Shikai, I'm really dying. Lin Shuaran cried and called Zhang Shikai. What's wrong, baby? Who bullied you? Zhang Shikai coaxed. It's not that Chen Yi, you don't even know how he treated my mother and brother. Lin Shuaran cried and complained, her voice delicate and weak, which made Zhang Shikai's heart break. This dog. How dare you be so arrogant? Don't be afraid, baby, I'll find someone to help you teach him a lesson. Zhang Shikai gritted his teeth. Darling, you're so kind. I knew you must love me the most. Lin Shuaran suddenly burst into tears and smiled. Both his parents and younger brother were blaming him, but only Zhang Shikai wanted to vent his anger on her. Sure enough, it was right to get rid of that cowardly Chen Yi. Zhang Shikai promised to take Lin Shuaran to buy a bag a few days later, and finally managed to coax her. Hanging up the phone, Zhang Shikai pondered carefully and became increasingly angry as he thought about it. Chen Yi, this Phoenix man, has no other skills, but he is really skilled at coaxing women. A few days ago, he had already heard about the Honghai Engineering Investment Promotion Conference. It is said that that kid has already approached Mr. Shang. Thinking of this, Zhang Shikai was even more indignant. She is indeed a woman, even if her business is doing well, it cannot be worth a few words from a little white face. He, Zhang Shikai, hates this kind of unprofessional little white face the most in his life. Wait, little white face. Zhang Shikai's mind twitched and he suddenly came up with something. Little white faces like this rely on their faces to make a living. As long as they don't have that face, everything will be solved. Zhang Shikai smiled with satisfaction, as if he had already seen the day when Chen Yi was swept out of the house. He remembered someone who could definitely do it. Hello, brother Hu, how have you been lately with your elderly family? Are you okay? The person Zhang Shikai is looking for is called Lei Hu, a famous figure in Fanghua City. He walks in the gray area all year round and is not very clean. Oh, isn't this Mr. Zhang? You're such a noble person, why do you think of me? Lei Hu answered the phone with a rather casual tone, clearly not paying attention to Zhang Shikai. Zhang Shikai cursed inwardly, saying that this thunder tiger relied on his own hands to be unclean and not to be taken seriously by anyone. Although he has some status in the provincial capital, this place is still in the prime, and Lei Hu is a reliable local leader. He really dare not care about the other party's attitude. Tiger brother, your words are really killing me. How could I have your demeanor of 1,000th? Zhang Shikai could only lower his posture repeatedly when asking for help. Stop talking nonsense. You've always been climbing the Three Treasures Hall without any problems. Tell me, what can I do for you? Lei Hu snorted coldly, not wanting to hear Zhang Shikai's insincere compliments at all. Zhang Shikai said a few more good words before finally revealing his thoughts. So, this kid named Chen Yi is really not a good guy. After listening to Zhang Shikai's words, Lei Hu pondered. He's not stupid, how could he not hear Zhang Shikai's words without a few words? But so what? As long as the interests are in place, Lei Hu has never cared about these small details. Yeah, brother Hu. I don't mind, but the Lin family is too miserable. I can't bear to watch anymore. Zhang Shikai was filled with righteous indignation. According to you, he has already embraced Shang Qingyue's thigh. Brother, this matter will be difficult to handle. Lei Hu deliberately said. Zhang Shikai paused and immediately understood Lei Hu's meaning. He had long guessed that Lei Hu was not easy to handle, and upon hearing this, he was somewhat mentally prepared. Don't worry, he's just a foodie. How could Shang really take it seriously? So, after everything is done, I'll give you the land in the east of the city. What do you think? This is just a nice statement. Zhang Shikai himself knows that the terrain in the east of the city is complex and the development potential is very low. There's not much profit. Lei Hu snorted coldly, brother, your words are meaningless. You should know better than me about the situation on that land, right? Zhang Shikai suddenly remembered that as a local snake, Lei Hu knew the entire Fanghua city like the back of his hand. He smirked and said, what do you mean, brother tiger? If I remember correctly, do you have a villa complex in the south of the city? I think it's nice there, with clear mountains and clear waters. I happen to be getting older and preparing to retire, which is perfect for retirement. What do you think? The Thunder Tiger and Lion spoke loudly. Zhang Shikai secretly hated that the villa complex in the south of the city was one of his top projects. Lei Hu, an old man, was about to bite off a piece of his own flesh. But now, the idea of getting rid of Chen Yi has the absolute upper hand. Whenever Zhang Shikai thought of Chen Yi kneeling in front of him begging for mercy, he felt incredibly happy. He gritted his teeth and finally made up his mind. Of course, not a problem. I will do my best to meet Tiger Brothers' requirements. The two of them politely exchanged a few more words before hanging up the phone. Zhang Shikai immediately told Lin Xueran the news, and as expected, he received Lin Xueran's gentle praise. Since winning the Honghai project, Guyu's heart has become increasingly difficult to calm. Especially when I think about who was behind the scenes behind this project to successfully win it, I can't help but feel excited. Chen Yi still has feelings for her, right? Otherwise, why do we have to do this? For several days in a row, Guyu was absent-minded, and even Meng could see that his mind was floating. Originally, Meng Yiran only arranged for Guyu to go shopping. When the two of them got tired from strolling, they sat down and had a drink. But Guyu only stirred the coffee on his own and didn't take a sip for a long time. Meng Yiran watched from the side, hesitating to speak. She was also present that day, and Guyu appeared too obvious. She had already understood what was going on. Sister you. She called out softly. Guyu just regained his senses and smiled apologetically. Sorry, I got distracted again. Sister you haven't been doing well these past few days, I think. Meng also hesitated and didn't know what to say. Guyu gave a dismal smile and said, is it so obvious? Meng also remained silent, but her expression had already told Guyu the answer. Guyu sighed lightly and said, I really don't know what to do. I just feel that your state of mind has a significant impact on your life. Meng Yiran said tactfully. That's right, I think so myself. Guyu looked out the window, with pedestrians rushing in various directions, as if everyone was doing their best to achieve their goals. She suddenly understood. Anyway, I should give it a try, right? She said to Meng Yiran, her expression uplifted. Meng Yiran didn't know how to answer. However, Guyu has clearly made up his mind. Chapter 10. Guyu's Thoughts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guyu, are you in a hurry to call me out? Did something happen? In the restaurant, Chen Yi hurriedly walked in and asked without waiting to sit down. Guyu's expression was somewhat unnatural. Nothing, just thinking, you helped me win the Honghai project, I should be grateful to you. Ah. Chen Yi was taken aback. Guyu's expression was even more unnatural. Chen Yi looked at her for a few seconds and suddenly realized. He slowly sat down and said with a smile, Guyu, you're too polite. After all, your ability is enough to win this project. Guyu remained silent. There are so many enterprises in Fanghua City that have stronger capabilities than her. This is just Chen Yi's humble words. Their Sichuan pepper chicken is good. I remember last time I came, you also loved it. Guyu talked about him from left to right. Since Chen Yi had realized that Guyu had not encountered any major issues, he was no longer in a hurry and smiled gently. Great, I haven't eaten it for a few days, I'm really craving. During the entire meal, Guyu looked at Chen Yi several times, with countless words hidden in his beautiful eyes. Chen Yi was stared at for a long time, sighed, and put down his chopsticks. Guyu, like this, I'm almost indigesting. He deliberately joked. Guyu was taken aback and said, Did I disturb you? She quickly explained, I didn't mean it, I haven't figured out how to say it yet. Chen Yi comforted with a smile and said, Guyu, no matter what, we are all friends, right? Guyu didn't expect him to speak like this, and his smile suddenly became forced. Friend. I'm not a friend to you. She put down her chopsticks and her expression became solemn. Chen Yi, you know what? I've always been interested in you. Chen Yi deliberately said those friend words, and he had already seen Guyu's thoughts. It's just that he has no intention of Guyu and doesn't want to lose this friend, so he wants to use his friend's words to stop Guyu. I just didn't expect that Guyu would be such a bold girl. Since Guyu is so serious, Chen Yi's attitude also becomes solemn. I thought you knew. Guyu, you should be able to see that I always treat you like my younger sister. Even though he had already guessed and was truly rejected, Guyu's face turned pale in an instant. But now that you're divorced and we have an engagement, can't you really consider me? Guyu still refuses to give up. Before Chen Yi could answer, she quickly added. I know you don't have much feelings for me right now, but emotions can be cultivated, right? Over time, maybe you can also fall in love with me. Chen Yi looked at her and didn't expect Guyu's thoughts to be so hidden and pure. The smile in his eyes disappeared. Guyu is a good girl, she deserves to be treated well. Chen Yi sat up straight, focused and serious as he looked at Guyu. At first, I chose Lin Xueran mainly to repay her kindness. After all these years, I admitted that I had not done anything wrong to her, and only left later. If we had developed feelings over time, I really didn't have much love for her after spending 3 years together. Upon hearing him mention Lin Xueran, Guyu frowned her delicate nose in disgust. Can Lin Xueran be like me? She's the kind of person. Guyu grumbled in dissatisfaction, seeming to be dissatisfied with Chen Yi mentioning her and Lin Xueran together. Chen Yi was amused by her small movements. What I mean is, since I went down the mountain, all my time has been spent repaying kindness. After all this time, I have finally gotten rid of the past, and in the days to come, I want to live well for myself. Chen Yi is not willing to harm this beautiful girl. Guyu understood Chen Yi's meaning. She tried hard to maintain the smile on her face. Are you saying? That's right, I don't have any thoughts about these things right now. Guyu, you're good, it's my fault, I'm really sorry. Chen Yi believes that not procrastinating is what a big man should do, and he should not let Guyu have illusions in his heart. No. You're not bad. You're good. I know, you're good. Guyu quickly retorted. Although Chen Yi refused him, for some reason, looking at Chen Yi's sincere expression, Guyu felt even more like him while feeling sad. This is the person you like, even if you refuse others, you are afraid of hurting them. Guyu was clearly very sad, but he couldn't stop the joy rising from the depths of his heart. She knew that she didn't like the wrong person, and Chen Yi was just great. So Miss Gu has such a high opinion of me. Then I am really honored. Not wanting to see another sad expression on Guyu's pretty little face, Chen Yi deliberately said. Guyu's smile bloomed as expected. Why are you still putting gold on your face? She understood Chen Yi's thoughts, so she suppressed her sourness and said with a smile. So since that's the case, we'll be friends from now on. Chen Yi tentatively spoke up. Of course. Let me tell you, Miss Ben's market is very good. Guyu pretended to be proud, as if Chen Yi had rejected her, as if it was the other party's loss. Chen Yi also cooperated with a smile and said, so our engagement seems to be hopeless. He said jokingly. But Guyu knew that this sentence was not a joke. She tried to put on a nonchalant attitude. You know, it's good. From now on, we'll just have an ordinary friendship. How about it, regret it? Chen Yi immediately put on a very heartbroken look. His funny appearance completely amused Guyu, and the two of them immediately looked at each other with a smile, laughing uncontrollably. Guyu felt extremely desolate in her heart. She knew that Chen Yi was jokingly cancelling the engagement between the two while considering her face. But it's okay, as long as she can be by Chen Yi's side, she will be very satisfied. Two people finished their meal and prepared to say goodbye at the door. Alright, hurry up and pursue your freedom. I'm also going home to do a spa. Guyu waved his hand, pretending not to care. Chen Yi stood on the roadside, watching her get into the driver's car, her smile still filled with Guyu's favorite flavor. Guyu sat in the car, although he knew he shouldn't, he couldn't help but turn his head frequently to look at him. Just as the car was about to leave, Guyu suddenly saw from the rearview mirror that a group of people rushed out of the nearby alley, surrounding Chen Yi in groups. Chen Yi! Guyu exclaimed in surprise and hurriedly opened the car door, about to get off. And Chen Yi over there had already secretly accumulated enough strength. When he first came out of the store, he had already noticed the unusual air around him. He was trained by his master's old monster all year round, and his vigilance was extraordinary. These few people all had fierce eyes and were covered in flesh. They looked at him without even concealing their gaze, it was hard not to notice.